Hey, hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. I got a great one here. Got two guests on me on this show, on this episode coming up. Looking forward to catching up with these incredible, talented women. You'll see who it is in a minute. But before we get started, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with another incredible episode. It is January 14th, 2026. Still trying to get used to that, 2026, saying that and writing that and all that. So I hope everyone's enjoying the beginning of this new year. But you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Spotify, Apple, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network, Roku channel, YouTube, wherever you consume podcasts. We are there. Follow the BS3 Network on all the platforms. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms, whether it is Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Facebook. So I'm active on a couple of those. So yeah, just follow at Get the Real Deal on those social media platforms. So, all right, let me bring in my guest here. They've been on the show a couple times and everything. We always chat and we always catch up with each other, and I'm excited to have them both on at the same time. So I'm going to introduce them one by one. First and foremost, I'm going to introduce Sydnee Walker. She is social media manager, content creator, founder, CEO, and host of the Collaborative as well. So, Sydnee, welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for having me, Courtney. Excited to be back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And glad to have you on, and glad that you're back on. It's like I said, it's been a while since we've done a show together, and so it's only right that I bring you on in the new year and catch up, see what you've been up to. And I'm going to bring in your partner in crime as well, who's been on the show quite a few times. We just did a show in December, I believe, just chatting about the NFL and things like that. So she's no stranger to the show as well. Erin Mulligan, creator of the new Mulligan Minute, as well, co-host of Cousins Playbook podcast. And this is the duo of the Time Out with Sydnee and Erin as well podcast. So check it out. They just started season 2 this past Monday. So Erin, welcome to the show. Really appreciate it again.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with three of us.
Yeah, this is the three of us this time. So we got a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. So again, follow these incredible women. They do so much great work in the industry as well. So, and then also again the podcast Time Out with Sydnee and Erin, which I am a big fan of. I love jumping in the comments, and you guys bring a lot of great topics and discussion. I heard from Erin that it's almost like you guys' group text, or you guys when you guys are calling and talking with each other over the phone and things like that. And you guys just made it into a podcast. So excited to have you both on and discuss that. So, but Sydnee, I'll throw it to you. Erin told me what the podcast is about and things like that, which I know. But from your perspective, uh, why'd you start Time Out and what it's about?
Yeah, Erin and I have known each other for about 4 or 5 years now, and we're both obsessed with sports, specifically football and also pop culture. So we're always texting during games. Erin's a huge Giants fan, and I'm a huge Falcons fan. So we're always updating each other on our team. Anytime there's huge breaking news or anything going on, we're like, oh my gosh, texting each other. So really, since we're always talking about sports, discussing the hottest takes, discussing the latest news, we decided why not just verbalize that and do a podcast. And so we started that. And originally we were doing it on Zoom and then putting it on Spotify. And then we decided to transition to Instagram Live. We figured that was more of an easier format. People are already on their phones. All they have to do is just click on the profile. They can sit in and listen. And we realized that was more engaging. Like you said, you've been in the comments. Other people are commenting throughout the show when they hear topics they want to jump in and on. And we're responding to questions, engaging with people. So it's been really fun engaging with our followers and different people from the community that way. and really just verbalizing our texts daily with each other for everyone to hear and giving our takes, really just expanding our knowledge and talking about football, golf, and also both of us love reality TV. So when we can, it's been a crazy cycle right now with everything going on in football and everything, but when we can, we do discuss Real Housewives and pop culture as well. So we do both love that too.
Yeah, so like you said, entertainment, pop culture, and sports, and interesting. Sports is kind of is if the sports is pop culture and reality TV for most part. There's been so much different dramas, as you said, Cindy, of everything that's been going on in football, in golf as well. So a lot has been going on. But Aaron, I wanted to talk to you about transition into the Mulligan Minute as well. Talk about the new Mulligan Minute and what's that entail? I know we discussed a little bit that you said you were kind of reformatting a little bit, so now you got the Mulligan Minute. Talk about how that's been going.
Yeah, I wanted something new. I was sick of the name. I used to have the dissection as a blog and a podcast and just a social media presence. And I got sick of the name and I wanted it to be quick, eye-catching, and I couldn't find a niche with that whole brand. So I wanted to do something where it was kind of a play on words with my last name. I thought might as well take advantage of it being a golf term. And I didn't want it to only be about golf. So I tried to think of something. Actually, one of my girlfriends came up years ago with the name, and because she was just joking around, she was like, "I can't wait till you're on ESPN and you've got the Mulligan Minute," whatever. She thought it would be a good segment or show. And then I thought about it recently, and I thought, okay, well, I just feel like there's some negativity in sports media where everybody loves to criticize constantly and get clickbait and everything, and kind of just not destroy, but just tear down a lot of players and whatever moves might have been going on in whatever sport. And there's just a lack of, I guess, humanity across pro sports. So I thought, okay, well, why don't we talk about who maybe needs a do-over or should be forgiven about something or whatever. It could be as small as an injury, or maybe someone's off the field scandal. And it could become a conversation. So I give a different person across the sports world a mulligan every week, and I have people discuss in the comments if they think that person or team deserves it or what they think about the whole situation. So it's been fun, and it's just something new and quick and fun for people to just consume.
Definitely. Like you said, I know you had the dissection of Erin and Mulligan. You had that for a while, as you said, the blog and everything too. So yeah, so it's good reformatting, kind of just like restarting things like that. It's always good to have that to jumpstart. So, but let's transition into that. As you said, Mulligan Minute. Now we talk about Mulligan, we talk about golf and things like that. So we could transition in. So we'll start there. There's been a lot of big news in golf, and I know you both are huge golf fans as well. We do have a tournament coming up tomorrow, actually, the beginning of golf, which we're all three of us are excited. But before that, we got some news of Brooks Koepka and leaving Live and going back to the PGA. So I wanted to get your take on it. I thought it was perfect timing too, because like, yeah, okay, golf has just started. Brooks Koepka, I know me and Aaron, we talked about that, and when I think he had just announced that he was leaving Live at that time when we did the show. But I'll start with you, Sydney, on this. What was your take now that Brooks Koepka leaving Live and now heading back to the PGA Tour? With a lot of there's a lot of caveats too. You know, he's returning. There's some punishments there. He's got $5 million. There's a lot of different things happening to the returning members program. But what's your overall take with Brooks coming back to the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I was surprised it came out of nowhere. I figured it would happen at some point just because I didn't really see it working out in the end. A lot of guys took it because it was great money, but I just didn't really see it working in the end. And I figured guys would want to come back at some point, but we didn't really have any inklings that anyone would leave at this point in time. So I didn't think we would get any breaking news like that at this point. And then when I got the news about Brooks, I was like, whoa, what's going on? I was very surprised. I didn't think he would be the first to leave. And like you said, he had all those ramifications to exit immediately. So that just shows how miserable or how immediately he wanted to get out of the Live contract. I think he had to do a $5 million charitable contribution.
Yes. Mhm.
He wasn't. There's like a lot of different ramifications for that. So that just shows how serious he wanted to get out. But I think it was inevitable, but I think he's really paving the way for other guys to get out. But the PGA Tour made it very specific. They have like 3 more weeks, and they specifically named John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cameron Smith. And they claim that they're sticking with Liv, but they just said that they're under contract through 2026. So that's not a clear-cut answer to me. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but I think Brooks is really giving guys a wake-up call like, oh, we can go back to the PGA Tour, and they're making it kind of easy for them to return to the tour. And like we've said in the past, they've paid their dues. They've been embarrassed. I think people have gotten over them leaving, and even Rory and Tiger, who are the leaders of the PGA Tour, in the face of that, they said they welcome them back. They've done their time. They've dealt with it now. They'll welcome them back. So I was very shocked at first, but I'm happy to have Brooks back. I know he's dealt with a lot in the recent years. He's dealt with injuries, hasn't finished where he's wanted to in recent majors, missing the cuts and all of that. So I'm glad to see him back in that competitive environment, and hopefully he'll get back to where he wants to be soon.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, as you talked about him, coming back, and I think this is I really think it's been in the making, like him just talking with the PG. I think he was already out on the outside maybe for the last couple of months, because as you said, he announced that he was leaving Live, and then 2-3 weeks later, he's already nice. They welcomed him back. PJ, they were gonna welcome him back. He's a big name. Multiple time Grand Slam winner, so many different the major winner, I should say major winner, and there's so many different things of now Live just wasn't what they probably thought it was cracked up to be, and now they said they named all those other ones that they want, the big names too, Rahm and Bryson and Cam Smith. It's like, okay, let's see who's gonna ben. I don't know if anybody else is gonna go this year, but come there this year, because I know Cam he's already said no. I think Rahm's also said no too. But Bryson is the one. I think he's the wild card where you just never know what he's going to do. Is he going to stay with Liv? Is he not going to stay with Liv? Because he's such a big name and a big personality. So, but Erin, what's your take? As they said, we talked about this on the previous show about when Brooks had announced that he was, he left Liv and everything too. It just didn't work out the way they probably thought. And he made about over $100 million with that. As we know, that's what a lot of it was about the money, and that was a lot of money, a lot of generational wealth for them. But what's your take on the whole Brooks going back to the PGA? And I think Tiger and Roy had something to do with that too. I think there was in discussions with him too. I really think that there's some underlining. Oh yes, come on back. They'll definitely welcome you back as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were involved in it. I think they know that Brooks is good for the game of golf and kind of bringing younger kids into it, because it is known as such a boring grandpa sport. But as in recent years, it's become a little bit more exciting. And I think Bryson is to thank for some of that, because of his whole content creation, somewhat of a side hustle, but he's making lots of money doing that as well. But I thought this was a great start. I think Brooks was the perfect guy to make the first move, but I think that Bryson coming back would be just incredible. I think that would end Liv almost, because he, as me and Sydnee did talk about it the other day, and we were like, I was saying, I think he's somewhat the face of Liv, because all he did was pretty much do a press tour when Liv started, and he just went around and said how great it is and how great it's going to be for all these golfers, especially ones with families, because it's a different layout and it's a different schedule that allows more family time, and yet you're making more money. So it worked, whatever. But it was like, something really shiny that a baby wants to touch. That's what Liv was to these golfers. Or just like something so enticing. And I think even fans were really somewhat excited, but very interested in it. And it just hasn't panned out to be what we thought. So I think Brooks was definitely the best one to be the first one to come back. And I think him and Rory, they've had their troubles in the past, but they've made up, I think, 2 years ago, because we saw them joking around on the course and during warm-ups and stuff. I think Rory really likes Brooks. And so for Rory to be have the role that he does within the PGA, as does Tiger, I think they definitely maybe were involved in sort of making the transition a little bit easier. Of course, he had to pay that $5 million, and he has all these different requirements that he has to reach to actually make the full move. But I think it could have been a lot worse because there were other threats that we heard over the past few years that, oh, will they ever be able to come back? This is what's going to happen if they want to, stuff like that. So I think it's a lot better than what we expected. And it's huge news. I think it's historical, honestly, because these were the two professional leagues that everybody was like, whoa, you're either on one side or the other. And it's just really an interesting time to be a golf fan.
Definitely. And again, with Live, a lot of the golfers that did leave, it was one of those things like they didn't want to admit they said, well, we're going to do this for the competition. As we all three of us know, the competition is in the PGA Tour. That's the competition. That's where the best golfers are. So a few of them did say, hey, this is money that I can't pass up. And I think we would have accepted it even more as fans if they would have just came out and just said, like John Rahm said, he said himself, yes, I'm doing this because I can earn a little bit more money for my family. Now he's a multiple major winner, but he's thinking, okay, if someone's gonna offer me, I don't know what I can't remember what his contract was, 200 million, 300 million, or whatever it was. It was a lot of money. He said I can't just pass that up. So he admitted it with what it was, and Brooks did the same thing. And just to go back to what you said about the penalties handed down, $5 million charitable donation. He would not be eligible for FedEx Cup bonus money in 2026. He can't receive sponsor exemptions until into the signature events, and he won't be able to receive equity grants in the tour over the next 5 years. So that could be. Yes, that could be problematic, but as he said, he wants to get the 5 million. I think is almost like a write-off for him in a way. He could just give that. That's probably a check. He probably already donated at least probably half of that at the least. So, but it's good to have him back. And Aaron, you're right. I think if Bryson comes, if he, even if it's not this year or if it's at the end of his contract after next year, yeah, I think that'll be totally the end of Live. So, and they got a new CEO. PGA Tour got a new CEO as well. So he's probably working this and to make okay, we're going to give an opportunity for these guys to come back. So I'm looking forward to it. Do you guys see anybody else? I know the other three, but anybody else you would love to see from Live get back into the tour? Aaron, I'll start with you on this one.
I would really love to see John Rahm and Sergio Garcia come back
Mhm.
because, and I say those two, I mean, more than anything, I want Bryson to come back. I just don't think it's realistic, at least this year. I could see him maybe next year or the year after. But as of right now, I could, you know, we saw what John Rahm said, and, it was kind of an excuse to say I have one more year in my contract, whatever, whatever. But I would really like to see the two of them because they were veterans that we enjoyed watching on the PGA, and they have I think, plenty of years left in them. So I think it would be really fun to see those two, but most of all, Bryson. I just don't think it's realistic.
Oh, really? Right. All right. What do you think, Sydney? Anybody else you feel that you would love to see back into the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I think just John Rahm would be at the top of my list because when he really gets going, he really kills it. And he's at the top and can hang with the best of them. So I really love to see him back in his element. And it's funny because John, Bryson, and Cam had a presser, and when they asked about their plans, Bryson said his contract's up until he's through. He's under contract until 2026. And Live Golf posted that quote on social. I was like, that wasn't exactly a shining endorsement for you to be posting it
Right.
everywhere. He didn't say, I
Yeah.
love Live, I'm here to stay. I was like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be running with that quote. He didn't put anything set in stone.
That's a good point. And that's funny because he did when he did say that. I'm thinking, okay, he's got a couple weeks too, so I wouldn't. I don't think any of the three. I agree with both of you. I don't think either three of them are. He said Rom and Cam Smith are already committed. But again, that's just words saying if they want to get out of their contract and they go to PGA, they could. They could. This could change within soon as soon as I put this out, this could change this in the end of this week. And next thing you know, Bryce is in the news with that. So that would be it's gonna be very interesting to see. So hey, that's what the golf really needs it needs that storylines, and this is a big storyline heading into this season as well. So I definitely want to get you both of you on back when, especially when the majors come up and things like that, because we can talk golf probably for an hour or so, a couple hours on top of that. So I'm gonna move on to the next topic. I want to get into there was there was some journalists, media news from the Jacksonville Jaguars game. I want to get your opinion on this. I didn't put this on the list, but I wanted to ask about this, the Cohen and Jones moment. The Lynn Jones, the reporter, who was praising the Jaguars after they lost to the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game. Liam Cohen, reporter Lynn Jones, set off a debate about journalistic ethics and things like that. Erin, I want to begin with you on this one. Did you feel like this should have went viral the way it did? It's been a 50-50 split of ethics and things like that, journalists and ethics and things like that. Is it okay for a reporter to show empathy, which I believe it is? You talk about, Aaron, on your the Mulligan Minute, something about people, so much negativity and everything to a coach of players. So what do you feel of this viral moment that happened in journalism?
Well, I was watching the press conference and I just didn't care. I mean, I'm like, all right, great comment. And now that it's such a big story, I'm kind of happy that it did go viral. I didn't really see a reason for it to go viral, but I'm kind of glad because it did bring up this conversation of should that be allowed in a presser? Because the big conversation is there's only a certain amount of time that these reporters get in the press conference. And they're saying that she took some of that time away and I don't know if people feel like she was trying to, be a brown noser or something, but in that situation, and I understand obviously how cutthroat the sports industry is, but in that situation, people need to educate themselves and do research before they criticize. I think she's been at that paper and has run that paper that she's with for 30 plus years. So she has seen Jaguars players come in and out, coaches come in and out. She knows the team. And to have a new coach here, I think she just, gained a whole lot of his trust as well. So, and that's huge between player, coach, and media relationships. So I didn't have a problem with what she said. I understand the argument and maybe why other reporters are ticked off that she took their time. I mean, I've been in a press conference and not everybody gets to ask their question. And you're sitting there like little kids in the classroom, raising your hand, waiting for your turn, and you don't always get to go. So it's disappointing and you're trying to do a story. But I thought in that situation, right, he just lost in the wild card. The Jaguars should have gotten more attention, media attention over the season than they did. And I thought this was a huge statement for them moving forward. And he was disappointed. So I thought it was nice that she showed that compassion towards him. And I really don't, people are just like ticked off for no reason, just to complain about something, I think.
I 100% agree with everything you said on that, and just to add, before Sydney, I wanted to just add, it's like she was showing a human side, and I thought that was a compassion human side, and I thought that was excellent. And we've all probably been around the pressers, been on Zoom meetings with coaches and players and things like that, and sometimes with reporters, I think they take themselves a little too seriously. That's the problem. And like I said, journalism is, we all are in it, and we're in media and things like that. But I think they take themselves a little too serious. Sports supposed to be fun, supposed to be entertaining, and he just came off a disappointing loss. And they said she wanted to show compassion. They said 30 plus years in the industry, so she's not a rookie. She's a veteran in this game, and it was 19 seconds of all things to complain about. It was 19 seconds of something she wanted to say nice to the coach, and you could tell like he probably was very glad someone did something like that instead of asking the same old question that we hear all the time. Oh, how does it feel that you lost? What do you think? How many times can we spin that and everything too? So yes, I was so glad that she was able to do something like that, show a human side to this, and just give him some words of encouragement. And now she'll probably get even more access and trust, as you said, with the coaching staff and the team in itself. But Sydney, what you think of the whole thing? Should it have gone viral the way it did? And it talks about journalistic ethics, and was it a big deal as people are making it to be?
Yeah, that was my thing. I don't understand why there was so much outrage at someone being nice to a coach. Of
Yeah,
course, it's not the right thing to do as a journalist, but like you said, people always ask, "How does it feel?" Like if and your story is not going to be impacted by 25 seconds of gratitude. And if you
right.
really wanted your question to stand out, then ask something else other than "How does it feel?" You can ask, "How does it feel?" to George Kittle next year when he comes back from his torn Achilles. That's
Yeah,
when it's appropriate to ask, "How does it feel?" But we know how he's feeling, and I got more context after the presser. I saw she did a local interview, and she said after the game she wasn't going to attend the presser originally because it was very somber and she wasn't feeling up for it. But then she was talking to another reporter and she was just lifting him up, giving him words of encouragement. And he told her, "You should really attend the presser." And she said right before she talked to Liam, someone asked him a question and he was kind of fidgety. He didn't really know how to answer the question. He was biting his lip and seemed nervous. So that's when she went in and said, "You're doing great. You're doing amazing." You can see his body just resets. He's smiling. He's saying, "Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it." So that's also some added context that people didn't know. The question beforehand, he didn't really feel comfortable answering it. He was kind of off. So she really uplifted his mood. You can see his whole vibe change. So I appreciate it. I think it was a nice, humane moment, like you said, Courtney. And I don't understand why there was so much outrage. And it's interesting because all the reporters were mad about it, saying that you only have so many seconds to ask a question. But she had the most viral moment from the presser, so obviously we didn't miss too much.
yeah, she's getting a lot of more subscribers. I'm glad. I'm very happy for her. I'm going to try to reach out to her and get her on the show too as well, because I would just love to. And I've been seeing her making her rounds, and she said she didn't think it was a big deal, and it really wasn't. She just found she had a moment. Some people said it should have been more of a one-on-one, maybe outside of the presser, but as Aaron said, we've been in those situations when you're raising your hand and raising your hand, and because I've been to a Super Bowl, and when they had those, and that's even worse because but then people are asking when it's media day, people are asking a lot of different questions, and some people are looking at them like, "This is what you got?" I'm like, they want to just make sure that these athletes are human beings. The athletes and the coaches, they're human beings, and I love I know we all love the human side of that, especially when it comes to storytelling and things like that. So I give a lot of credit to her for even for just giving the words of encouragement to him, and as you said, Sydney, his demeanor changed, and he got teary eyed because he probably was taken aback. It's like, oh my goodness, somebody actually cares and ask and saying something words of encouragement. Said, how do you feel of this loss? X's and O's, and there's time for that too. So I think there's time for both. So I had no problem with it either as well. So all right, just got a couple more. Just we got to get into some NFL. Um, let's talk about the head coaching. So many jobs out there now, and offensive coordinator jobs and things like that. 9 head coaches. All of our 3 teams either looking for coaches or coordinators as well. With now the Eagles looking for another offensive coordinator. Atlanta Falcons Atlanta Falcons looking for GM and coach, and then the New York Giants looking for a coach as well. So 9 head coaching jobs in the NFL. Giants, Baltimore, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Miami, Cleveland, and some others. Sydney, I'll start with you. What do you think is the most attractive uh, coaching position that's there, and what do you think is the most least attractive for coaching position that's open?
Aaron will be happy with this one, but I think the most attractive is the Giants. You have a young core, you have Dart and Scattaboo, and then Neighbors will be back at some point. You really have the autonomy to do whatever you want. You have a clean slate, can build what you want, really have the offense, you have early draft picks. So I really think they have the ability to come in, do what they want, really build up. Because we saw the ability they have last season, what they can do when they really get going. So I really think that's a very attractive job. And then the least attractive, the Raiders. I think people are blindsided by the number one pick. I don't think that means anything. Their ownership and management is not good at all. So no matter what happens there, they always do a bad job of managing the cap space, their star players. So regardless of what happens there, you're going to have bad coaching turnover. We just saw Pete Carroll's one and done. We see a lot of coaches in and out. Antonio Pierce, they don't do a good job managing their star players. So regardless of them having the number one pick, I just don't see that as a desirable job at all.
That's a good one. That's a good one for least attractive position. As you said, the leadership is at a disarray, and that you don't know who's going to be the quarterback. And yeah, it's unless Tom Brady is a full time owner of that, I don't think he's leaving the booze anytime soon. So yeah, I can see that as one of the most least attractive. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I think Cleveland also could be kind of because you don't know what you're gonna with their quarterback situation as well. Sean Watson maybe coming back. That's a complete mess. Looks like as well. What do you think, Aaron? Is the New York Giants the most attractive spot for a coach? It looks like Harbaugh. I just read a report. They're gonna give him what they want, give him what he wants, and everything too. But they do have definitely a good nucleus on offensively. It's just I don't know about the general manager and ownership, but that's the only caveat for me. But as the resident New York Giants, is that the most attractive? And what's your opinion on the least attractive coaching job?
Yeah, I probably do sound biased, but I do think the Giants are a very attractive choice because of the potential that's there. And it's not even so much potential because we saw glimmers of the talent that the team has. We just got struck with a horrible injury bug, and hopefully it doesn't carry over to next season. But the Giants are classy organization most of the time, and are just have been around forever. And I think it is very attractive to Harbaugh because he's old school. He's been around forever. And the Giants, I think they'll just kind of bow down to him pretty much. And as you said, that report said pretty much that they're going to do that. He has that ability to just set demands and have everybody listen to him and obey him, basically. So I think he'd do really well. I know that it was a concern with him, how he connected with his younger players, but I don't think that's going to be such an issue with the Giants. I do feel like the younger players, as much as we see them on TikTok and stuff, I think they're pretty mature for their age, and I think it would go over really, really well here. I thought about the Steelers. I just don't know how they're going to handle the quarterback situation quite yet. Because they have a lot of potential too. It's just a very iffy situation. So I was going to go with the Giants. For unattractive, I'm going to go with the Browns. And I thought about the Steelers as like not the Steelers, Cardinals as a close second. The pattern between these two teams is the quarterback position. What's the future going to look like? I think with the Browns, they took the cake for me because their front office and ownership is just pretty much unprofessional. I think they mishandled the quarterback position. Like, I don't know why it took so long to put Shador in. There were so many issues that could have been prevented, and that was done by ownership in the front office. So I think as a coach, you're definitely going to really question them a lot. And it's just not somewhere you want to be, especially if you're a veteran coach. Why would you want to be there the rest of your career dealing with all this drama? If Deshaun comes back, why do you want to put yourself through that? That's just so unattractive. So I'd say the Browns for most unattractive.
I agree with both of you. I agree with both of you, but because I think the Giants, as an Eagles fan, hard for me to say, but they do have a no, but uh, they do have a good nucleus, and I agree with the quarterback Dart. He's got with the reports, he has a lot of say in this, or who he would like for him to coach. And Brian Daboll even said it himself that Harbaugh would be a great it'd be a great spot for him, for Jackson Dart. And if Scatterable comes back, we'll see how long that takes. With the major injury he just had, he might miss maybe most of the year. And then also Neighbors, if they could just stay healthy, it would be good to have Harbaugh back there. And now Mike Tomlin's out there, but then now there's reports that he might not be coaching because if anything, Pittsburgh has his rights also, so it'd be more of a trade if Mike Tomlin. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be somewhere like in a studio or booth. I think he's going to be in the studio, maybe with Fox. I was predicting that with Terry Bradshaw mostly on his way out. Why not get another Steeler in there and replace him? on the Fox booth or a Fox studio show. I think he'll be probably be really good. You talked about Pittsburgh. They've only had I think 4 coaches in their in like the last 30 years. Like that's or 40 years. That's incredible. That just shows how much of a good front office they have and leadership, and they keep their coach. They might keep them a little too long, but I think it could be an attractive position. But you're right, Aaron. I think it goes with the quarterbacks. Like, is Aaron Rodgers going to retire? If not, he's only going to play probably maybe one more year, maybe two. I think he does retire as well. So I don't see that. Baltimore, you got Lamar Jackson there, so I think that's a really good potential for a coach to have a two-time MVP. So I think those are a couple of the better spots for the most attractive myself. But all right, last one. I want to get into the playoffs, and we're getting into the divisional round, second round of the playoff. But first, what was you guys' take on Wild Card Weekend? It was a wild one, a lot of close games, and then yeah, a couple blowouts. But yeah, most of the weekend was very down to the wire. But Aaron, we'll start with you. What was the game the games that you thought was probably the best games, and what are you looking forward to this upcoming weekend?
I was really impressed with the Panthers Rams. I thought that was a great fight, and I think the Panthers did a lot better than anybody expected. If anybody's following me on TikTok, they know that I was rooting for the Panthers. I had been following along, basically did this little series where, because it was bothering me that the Panthers would post the radio analysts pregame analysis and then they cut them off. So I had started trying to like get the Panthers' attention. So they stopped doing that. Obviously, my favorite player is Luke Kuechly. So I was like, stop doing that. So I was really paying so much attention to the Panthers, and they were the complete underdogs this entire season. And I'm so happy for them. This was a huge, huge statement from them and from Bryce Young specifically, because he's been through a lot in his short career so far, and he's handled it just so smoothly and in such a mature manner. So I was really impressed with all of that. I was impressed with how calm he remained. I didn't think it was Matthew Stafford's best game, but I thought it was very veteran-esque. He got the job done, and he had Puka to rely on, and that was a great tandem to watch as well, which I think we'll see, going into this weekend, not this weekend, but moving forward throughout the playoffs, because he just seems to be a great weapon for him. So they worked really well together. And yeah, I just thought it was a great back and forth, and there wasn't really so much weakness on either defense completely. So that was something that really stood out to me last weekend.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I think, I was vested with the NFC as well with that game. And then of course the Eagles and 49ers, close games down the stretch on almost on all fronts as well. We said the Bills and Jags was close and was down to the wire. And then the Cardiac Bears just making that comeback. I thought that to me, and it was the most streamed game on with Amazon. That was such a good game. And Packers up 21-3, and the Bears, they kept coming back, and then the Packers the Bears couldn't score, and then the Packers couldn't score, and the Bears just kept clawing back, and they made a comeback. I was impressed with that one. But Sydnee, what was your wild card weekend? Which game or team that you were most impressed by this past weekend?
Yeah, I have two. Definitely impressed by those Cardiac Bears and then the 49ers. I'll start with the 49ers. If you look at their season, they really have no business making it this far. Literally almost their whole entire team is injured. So kudos to Kyle Shanahan for even getting them this far. Even at the beginning of the season when Mac Jones was like on a 5-game win streak. So even just getting them prepared that way to hand it back off to Brock Purdy to keep them in position to keep winning games and getting them to the playoffs. So I really like how they've been able to keep winning, firing on all cylinders, and even just making them this far. So they have a tough matchup this weekend, facing up against Seattle again. So we'll see how that goes. But even just getting this far, it's very surprising. If you would have looked beginning of this season, they lose all their stars, Fred Warner. You just wouldn't have thought they would have made it this far. So I'm impressed by them. And then the Bears, they showed a clip on the shows this week when Ben Johnson first got to Chicago, and he was talking to all the staff. He's like, we're going to be winning championships here. We're going to win the division. He won the division. They won the first playoff game. So I think it's awesome the turnaround he's done for Chicago, because They haven't won in a very long time, so it's awesome to see the city so pumped up. And Caleb Williams has really turned around under Ben Johnson's coaching. So super happy for them and excited to see how that matchup is this weekend.
You heard me with the 49ers. You just heard me.
Sorry.
Just heard me. I'm still like I just got over it, and then when you brought that up, just brought flashbacks and everything. No, they played a game. Like they came right into Philly, and when the Eagles were up 16-10, I was like, this is just not enough. And the Eagles were struggling like they did all year. And Sydney, we were talking about this before we started recording of how it was just only a matter of time because the Eagles were so inconsistent offensively, not scoring enough points against good teams, and this 49ers. It was only a matter of time before they would score again, and they did. And even when the Eagles were driving down the field, I was thinking, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think it was going to happen. I just had that feeling just because of the way the season ended, and now how it ended, it wasn't what it was. And 49ers, you said, with all the injuries, Shanahan had got these guys really playing some excellent football. And so, yeah, we'll see this week how they go when they go up to Seattle. And because the last time we saw a couple weeks ago, Seattle really put it to them a couple weeks ago. So I'm sure the 49ers will be ready. But now losing George Kittle and one of their main weapons, I think that's going to really impact the AFC side. Who you guys feel like New England put a really defensive clamp on the Chargers, and the Chargers they really put it on them as well. And then Houston again. That's one of those teams I don't think no one really wants to see, really, with that defense and everything too. But were you guys impressed with either one of them and Buffalo as well? Erin, start with you on this one again. Anybody in the AFC now? You got Denver coming out, the number one seed now. Got to play Buffalo.
Yeah, I hate saying this, but I was really impressed with the Patriots. I thought they really showed how strong their team is. Drake May has really proven himself, and they just completely destroyed the Chargers. I mean, it was almost sad to watch to an extent, but the Patriots have really come back now, right? They're respected again, and they deserve, unfortunately, all their flowers. I really enjoyed the few years that they had off, but yeah, and then I've been an Aaron Rodgers fan since I was 10, and it's just a very somber time right now. And so watching that game the other night, I actually was talking to my uncle literally right before the game started, and I said they have to attack Rodgers. If they can injure him, like, I don't mean to sound like awful, but if they can injure him or just rattle him, they'll win. And it was all about the pass rush. It was all about the Texans defense. And that's exactly what they did. They were able to do that. And I think they made slight adjustments. And I actually thought the Patriots did this as well. I don't mean to bounce back and forth, but the Patriots weren't really known for having a good pass rush, like, at all. And this past week, they made great adjustments, and it paid off. And the same went for the Texans. I mean, the Texans defense had a pretty solid season, and they just completely showed out. And they did exactly what they needed to do. They demolished the Steelers' O-line. I think the Steelers did all that they could do. And it was just a little difficult to watch as a Rodgers fan, but happy for CJ Stroud, and they really were very impressive.
Yeah, that defense was very impressive. Like you said, they attacked Aaron Rodgers, and that's what they had to do. And they put the blueprint of how to stop the Steelers attack, and they really did it. That defense was unstoppable and on this past Monday. But Sydney, any of the teams in the AFC, which team was impressive to you, and do you feel like could make a big run?
Yeah, the Texans are my silent assassin team. I feel like they always fly under the radar because they're not as flashy and their players are a little bit quieter than other teams, so people really don't notice them until the playoffs, but their defense is killer. CJ Stroud didn't have the best game, so the defense was really playing lights out and made up for it, but I think if they play the way that they did last week, they can beat the Patriots.
Yeah, they can go into yes, I agree. They can go into New England and really put it on the Patriots. Patriots have to be very, very careful. Hopefully Drake May's inexperience doesn't catch up to him, but he's been playing MVP football as well. They got a solid running game, and they got a really good defense too. As you said, the Texans, if they could continue to play the defense like they did, it could be a long day for the Patriots. But we'll see. Looking forward to those matchups as well. All right, just last one. I want to get both you guys what you guys got coming up this season or this year with the podcast and anything you can announce that you want to announce, final words or anything like that. So Sydney, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we'll continue to keep up our episodes of Time Out with Sydnee and Erin on Instagram Live. So make sure y'all tune into that. And then with the collaborative, we'll be starting back up our monthly virtual sessions with seasoned veterans in the industry. And then just keeping up with different stuff. So I'll be staying busy with that.
Follow, subscribe, subscribe, share, follow all those things. What they have going on. So Aaron, and you had the last word. Things you got coming up and that you want to accomplish this year and things like that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying to grow the Mulligan Minute and this new brand, and just gonna try to learn how to, properly go about the branding and everything. I'm very excited about that, and yeah, season 2 has already kicked off, and those were 3 parts were released today, and yeah, it's just a very exciting time, starting the year off pretty good, and yeah, just follow along. We'll see what else is to come.
Yeah, follow along. You said it went from texting to the podcast. That's what it is. That's the transition. But I appreciate both of you ladies here. I really enjoy all the work you guys are doing, the content, and I'm so glad that we had a chance to do this together as well. I wanted to. You guys were one of the first ones when I was putting my schedule up that who I wanted on the show in January, start the year. So I'm glad we had got a time to do this. So I really appreciate the time and thank you again. And much success to both of you. And we'll keep in touch. And I can't thank you guys enough.
Thanks so much,
Thanks so much,
Courtney.
Courtney. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, pleasure's mine as well. All right, well, you guys enjoy the rest of the year, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Look for an invite when the Masters come. We'll definitely in April, so I'll have the invite ready for you. And I always do a Masters week, so you guys are on this schedule. So we'll try to put out a time and get our picks and things like that. But enjoy the rest of the year, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.